Hi, this is Kevin Trainer. Welcome to my introduction lecture for IS430 in the fall of 2023. In the fall of 2023, I'm teaching two sections of 430, and I refer to them as the A section and the B section. Okay? Now, when I look at my pages for my weekly schedule, the A section meets on Wednesday evenings online, and the B section meets on Thursday evenings online. Okay? And so when I go through the material for the semester, I'm just going to show you the material for the A section. Okay? If you're in the B section, well, the material that's going to be in the weekly schedule or on the Canvas site or in the syllabus, it's going to be almost identical, except some of the details are going to be different. Okay. So let's get started a little more seriously. Okay. So, what we're looking at here is the weekly schedule application, which is where I keep all the information about what we're doing from week to week. So I'm going to click through on the link for the A section. And as you can see, you go to the index page and you'll see uh, the weeks in the schedule for the fall 2023 semester. Officially, there are 17 of them, but the 17th is uh, exams, and we are not going to be using that. So we're going to be using weeks 1 through 16. And of course, one of the weeks is a holiday week for the Thanksgiving holiday. I think that's week 14. So that's the schedule as we're going to see it. And the way the weekly schedule application works is that when you want to see the weekly schedule for a particular week, you just click on the week number and it takes you to the weekly schedule page for that week. Okay? The weekly schedule's organized in the following way. Uh, there's a box of content for every important event in the week. So there's a content box for uh, Wednesday, August the 23rd, which for the A section is the first class. It's on Wednesday evening from 7 to 9. Um, if we were, for instance, to go to the page for the B section, which is take a peek at that, and we went to week 1, we would see that the class is on Thursday from 5 to 7. Okay, so don't be confused by what time your class is. The time of day is slightly different depending on whether you're coming on Wednesday or Thursday. All right, okay. So we're going to go back to the week 1 page for the A section. Okay. And so box 1 is all the information about our first class session on Wednesday evening. And box 2 a is a lab session that's going to happen on Sunday morning. Labs are optional, which is why it says optional session here. And then box 3 is the weekly assignments deadline. And the weekly assignments are always due at the very end of the day on Sunday. Okay, and that has all of that. Now, I'll go through the details of that before we're done uh, with the recording here today. All right. So this is pretty much the organization of the pages for all of the weeks of the schedule. Okay. Um, and eh, we'll go through the details for weeks 1, 2, and 3 in a little bit. Okay. Another piece of content that uh, you're probably more familiar with is the Canvas site for our course. And again, I'm showing you the site for the A section. The site for the B section is going to look super similar. Okay. And I organize my Canvas sites the same way every semester, and it's a little bit different than the template that they've created at the iSchool, which I find kind of busy and hard to find things. So in Canvas, um, we have these content entities called modules. Okay. And when you organize your content that way, and when you organize the top level page by modules, then each of the modules gets a box. Okay. So we've got one box, 2 boxes, 3 boxes, 4 boxes, 4 modules. Okay. And Module 1 kind of identifies the course and a lot of the details of it. So you can see it's the IS430A section. It meets on Wednesday evenings online. There's a link here to the syllabus, and there's a link to the weekly schedule for the A section. Okay? And then there's more content here that I'll go over in a minute or two. Module 2 is called Contact Us, and it gives details on the instructor and the TA, and it gives details on how to contact us. We don't use our email. We use this thing called the Trainer Help Desk, which is a special help desk application that I've created for us to be able to help you more effectively. And so this is the module in which I describe that, and I give you some links. The third of the modules is the modules with all the assignments. Okay, and you can probably see here, it may not be obvious to you, but if these are already published, these dots over here would be green. Okay, so these are all of the coding assignments. Okay, and then there's a final project. And I haven't published them yet because I need to change all the dates. When we go from semester to semester, the dates are always wrong for all the assignments. I just finished teaching this course in the summer, so the dates are all very accelerated for there, so I couldn't even get Canvas to sort of automatically translate the dates, but I'll do that soon, and when I do, I will publish all of these. Okay, and when I do, then you'll see that on your page when you go to Canvas. But for right now, on your page, it probably says submit assignments and more content coming soon. Okay. The last of the modules that I have are the assignment solutions. And what I do is I publish the solutions right at the start of the class in which we're going to discuss them. Okay, so for instance, the assignment for week 2 is the coding assignments for chapters 1, 2, and 3. Okay, so right before we come to class on in week 3, I guess, where we're going to discuss the assignments from week 2. I'll actually publish these and you'll be able to download them and we'll discuss them in class. Okay? And these are all the solutions. And of course, I'm only going to publish these. These are only going to show up in your version of the Canvas page when, excuse me, when I publish them. All right. All right. So let's go back and look at a couple of the details. The syllabus. Okay. So the syllabus is a link to a page that I published on my website. If I change the syllabus, which I will soon, for instance, right now it says teaching assistant TBA, and the name of the teaching assistant will be finalized in the next day or two. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to replace the document on the website. And so this link will point to a more current copy of the document. Okay, so what you link to is always the latest copy of the document. Okay, and when I update the content associated with the course, I typically announce that using an announcement on our Canvas site. Okay. All right, so that's what the syllabus looks like, and I'll be reviewing it with you in a little bit. Okay. So if we come back here and we go to the weekly schedule, it's the same deal. Okay, so that's a link, and that takes you to the weekly schedule for the section that you're in. Okay, so if you're in the A section, when you click on that link, it'll take you to this index to weekly schedule pages for the A section. If you're in the B section and you click on that link, it'll take you to the one for the B section. And again, it's organized by week. Okay. Right now, I've published the details for weeks 1, 2, and 3. So you can see I've got all the detail for 1, I've got all the detail for 2, and I've got all the detail for 3. And then we get to week 4, and it says it's under construction. Now, I'll probably have all the weeks up certainly by the second week of the semester. Some amount of surgery has to be done to the schedule detail every semester, and at least need to check it to make sure that nothing has changed. But there's not a whole lot that's going to be changing, so I expect to have weeks 4 through 16 up in week 2 sometime. Okay? All right. So now this would be a good time for us to kind of talk about the syllabus, I guess. But you know what? We're still talking about the weekly schedule. So let's not get ahead of ourselves. Okay? Please set your preferred name using the University Self-Service application. The name that's in Canvas is the name that we're going to call you. Okay. The name that's in Canvas and Zoom, and there's a way to change that. If that's not the name you go by, there's a way to go to this page that we have the link for here, and you can change your preferred name in the University Self service application. So please do that soon if you haven't already done it. Okay, that'll give us a chance to call you what you like to be called. The next page is what's left over from the template that I got from the iSchool for how to organize your page. They have a lot of good links about things that you might be interested in, and here's where I hid them. Okay. Open discussion forum. Okay. We have an open discussion forum for this course. This is a convenient place for you to have interaction with other people who are in the course. Okay, the TA and I will visit this from time to time and perhaps add to the conversation. But this isn't the place to get urgent help from either me or the TA. Okay, we have a section that we're going to come to soon using the help desk for this course. That's how you get more urgent help from us. Okay, and if you wanted to go to that page right now, you could click on that using the link. Okay. Okay, so feel free to use that. It's a great way to communicate with other students in the course, but it's not the preferred way to communicate with me or with the TA. Zoom meetings. So both the A section and the B section are online courses. And so before the first day of the course, I will have set up all the Zoom sessions. And this is the page where you're going to come. Okay. And of course, the link that you're going to want is probably the one that's going to be right at the top of the list. Okay, and there's going to be a series of links for the class meetings, and there'll be a series of links for the online labs. And depending upon what we're about to do, you'll pick the right link, which again will be at the top, and that's how you're going to log it into Zoom. This is the preferred way to log into Zoom because it logs you in with the right name, and so this is the page we're going to want you to come to. It just has not been populated yet. Okay. Okay, so let's talk about contact us stuff. So as of this point, we're on the final details of identifying who the TAs are for these two courses and who will be taking which of the sections. And when I get those details arranged, I'll change the page and I will publish that. I'll also change the syllabus, which has that on there too. Okay. So other information that's on here is that I don't have conventional open office hours. Okay. Instead, I have lab time. Okay. And the lab time happens at 2 points during the week. Point one is at the end of our class session for the week. Okay. Class sessions are scheduled here for 2 hours. A couple of them take 2, but most of them take less. And then the last thing that we do is we convert the rest of the time to lab time. And usually I can hang around even after the 2-hour period. Okay, so usually anybody who has a question or needs help with an assignment problem, there's plenty of time to help them at that point. And then we have a we have uh, a dedicated lab time, okay? And just to pull the schedule in, um, the lab time for the A section is on Sunday morning from 10 to 11. And if you were to go to look at this for the B section, it's on Sunday morning from 11 to 12. Okay, and why Sunday morning? Well, um, the alternative was Friday afternoon, and that's a little too soon for a lot of people from when we've had the class. Okay, we've had the class on either Wednesday night or Thursday night. The ideal thing to do for the lab is to start working on whatever the coding assignment is. And if you're going to get stuck, and then come to the lab and get help. Okay, so we need some break between the last class and the lab time, and uh, the the next assignment is due at the very end of the day on Sunday, and that gives you the opportunity, for instance, to try to get your work done on Saturday. And if you need to come to lab, then you can do that on Sunday morning. And then you can finish the work on Sunday afternoon and hand it in at the end of the day on Sunday. Okay? Would I prefer to work on Sunday morning? No, I wouldn't. But historically, this is what seems to work. Okay? Okay. What if you need help at other times of the week? Well, you use the help desk. Okay. So you essentially open a ticket on the help desk. And the help desk for this course has its own section called Using the Help Desk for this course. And if we just back up a level, whoop, backed up too many levels, using help desk for this course is right here. Okay. This is the kickoff semester for this new version of the help desk. I've been using a help desk for not quite 10 years, a long time. Okay. And we used a different one for a long time, and the licensing on that ran out over the summer, and I've replaced it with a new one. And I call it Trainer Help Desk. And the good thing I think about the usability of the Trainer Help Desk is that if you want to, you can act with it completely by email. So if you have a problem and you want some help and you want to open a ticket to get some help, well, then you can just send an email. You just have to know the right address to send it to. And then when we help you and we comment on your ticket and we send the answer back, well, you get an email in your inbox. Okay. And it's pretty easy to see that it's associated with the ticket that you open. Okay. So if you want to learn about the help desk in general, there's a link here to About the Trainer Help Desk, and that'll take you to the About page and the user guide. Okay. Um, as an alternative, okay, um, if you're in this course, which is the A section, well, then you click on this link, IS430 A section, compose email. And this tells you just what to put in the email. It's so the user guide is organized in a way to help you find the email address that you're going to send your email to. In this case, for the A section, it's is430.a-section at trainerhelpdesk.ligent.net. And if we were on the B section in Canvas and we clicked on the link that's there, it would take us to IS430B section, compose email, and it would tell us how to compose the email to do that. Okay, it's pretty straightforward stuff. All right, and for instance, you compose the email and then you send and confirm. So it tells you how to send and confirm, and it tells you how to correspond with the help desk team. And there's a whole lot of stuff right there in the user guide. Okay. Now, why do I do this? Well, for years, people would send me emails and ask for help, and I would lose them, right? Either I wouldn't see them, or we'd start a conversation and then the conversation would get lost. It was especially hard to bring in TAs to help the students as well. So the really nice thing about the help desk is that when you open a ticket, it stays open until we resolve it. And even if we close a ticket and you decide that you want more help, you can just send another email on that ticket and it reopens. Okay, so you'll be able to get help on whatever issue you have as long as you need it. But the other thing is that the TAs and I can collaborate to help you. And again, I've been doing this for not quite 10 years. Okay, I think I've done this. My TAs and I have used a system like this. We've taught, I think, 62 courses like this. And so we've got the idea down, and it should work pretty well. Okay, so there's that. That's the help desk. So if you need help and it's not time for lab, well, then just open a ticket and we'll do our best to help you online. Okay. Submitting assignments. I mentioned before, I'm going to be turning all of these on as soon as I get the dates corrected, and you'll see them at that point. If the dates are going to agree with the dates for the assignments as they appear in the weekly schedule. Okay. The authoritative place to go to find out what's due in any particular week is the weekly schedule. All right. And then last but not least, right before we review the solutions for a particular assignment, I'm going to publish the solutions. And you're going to download them at the beginning of the class, and I'm going to break you up into groups and we're going to discuss them. And we're going to be looking for how are your solutions different from mine and different from each other's, where we're trying to get a sense of is how variable can coding be? You know, what differences are favorable? What differences are unfavorable? What differences are just a matter of style and they don't really matter? Okay. That's the kind of stuff that we're going to get by discussing the solutions. The other thing we're going to see is we're going to see a lot of very interesting things that other people did that maybe we individually didn't think of. Okay. All right. So that is that's the Canvas site. And I'm going to pause for 1 second and I'll be back to go through the syllabus. Okay, we're back. Okay, so here's the syllabus. And again, this is the syllabus for the A section. If you're in the B section, well, yours is slightly different, okay? Only when I'm really thinking about how it's going to be different. Class times, the name of the TA, which of course is TBA right now, so maybe that's the same. Okay, but mm, all the material things are the same. So this is IS430, Foundations of Information Processing. It is a first course in programming using Python. It's intended for people who either haven't been programming before or haven't been programming in a long time. Um, People who consider themselves beginners. Okay. Um, you can take the course either for 4 credits or for 2. I recommend that you take it for 4. Um, the only people who I recommend take it for 2 or are people who really need to conserve either their credits or their funds. Um, the amount of work that people who take the course for 2 credits do is well more than half of the work. Okay. So um, it's maybe a great learning deal. Okay. But again, if you think you want to take it for 2 credits, the rationale should probably be I don't have that many credits left. Um, you know, I can't afford to take it for 4 credits, something like that. Okay. If you've registered for 2 and now you realize it'd be more favorable to take it for 4, well, you just have to contact your advisor and fill out the form. I have to approve it. I approve them readily. Just don't wait till the end of the semester to do it. Do it now rather than later. Okay. Um, our regular class session for the A section is going to be on Wednesdays from 7 to 9 because that's when we do things on Wednesdays. The timing for the B section is on Thursdays from 5 to 7. Okay? Um, and please use a headset. I think it makes the experience better to listen to for those who have to listen to the contributors. Okay. Um, Optional lab sessions. Again, the first one is going to be at the end of this weekly class. Okay. And again, sometimes a class will take 2 hours, but usually less. And we'll use the rest of the time for lab. Okay. And I'm always around after a class to answer lab like questions and give lab like help, even in the event that we did take the full 2 hours for class. And then we have dedicated lab time for the A section. It's on Sunday morning from 10 to 11. For the B section, it's on Sunday morning from 11 to 12. Okay. I don't have conventional office hours. Instead, I have these labs. But if you need to have an individual meeting with me to discuss something confidential, well, then just open a ticket on the help desk and say that you'd like to schedule an individual meeting. It'll probably happen online using Zoom. Oh, okay. And remember to tell me what days and times you're available so I could say pick one and we could schedule without having to go back and forth too many times. Okay? Contacting the instructor or the TA, again, this is just the same information that was in Canvas, okay? The way to contact us is using this trainer help desk, okay? And the links here are the same ones. There's a general link that takes you to the About page if you want to find out about the whole thing and how it's organized. And then there's a link for the section that you're in this case, since we're on the syllabus for the A section, it'll take you to the Compose page, which tells you just what to put into your email to send it off and have it become a ticket on the help desk. Okay, there's no logging in, there's no registering, there's none of that stuff. Just send the right email to the right place and you're off to the races. Okay. Okay, the description of the course, there's one from the catalog, and then there's one that's here from the syllabus. Again, this is a course for new programmers, okay? And it uses Python. Python's the language that we really use and emphasize here at the iSchool. Um, it has a good following both in libraries and in data science. And what we're looking to do is we're looking to get you started and get you to the point where you're either a high beginner or a low intermediate, and your confidence in what you can do is pretty darn high. Okay? So you can read the text that's here, but that's the gist of it. Okay, so the topics. So the topics that we have here are for the most part, the topics from the textbooks. Okay, so we've got two primary textbooks. We've got the Zell textbook that. In fact, let's just go down and look at the textbooks. Okay, and then we'll come back to the topics. So the required text. So by Zell, which we call the Zell book, Python Programming: An Introduction to Computer Science, 3rd edition. This is referred to throughout our materials as Zell 3E. That's our primary text. Okay. Our secondary text is a book by Charles Severance, and we use it in two different ways. There are two chapters that are not well covered in the Zell book, and so we take them from the Severance book instead. That's chapter 11 of the Severance book and chapter 14. Okay, so that becomes our kind of primary text there. And the other thing is especially for the introductory chapters, I offer like alternate readings in the Severance book for people who are new programmers who would just like to see it described a slightly different way. So that's kind of certainly optional reading and helpful for some people, but maybe not so necessary for others. Okay. So the Zell book is a printed book. You can buy an e-copy, but it's a book that you need to buy a copy of. The Severance book, Charles Severance teaches at the Michigan iSchool. He very generously made this book available for free. If you go to this web page for this Python for Everybody book, it comes in a lot of different formats. You certainly can buy a physical copy, but he's willing to give it to you for free because he's a great LIS guy, so um, I recommend that you use the electronic one. And then the last two units that we cover are about NumPy, pandas, and matplotlib, which are kind of they're foundational Python skills for data science. And I just added them to the course in the summer, and we had a lot of success with them. But they're kind of, I would say that they're kind of experimental units. I'm still looking for feedback from students on how well they take to the material and all of that kind of stuff. So the textbook for those last two units that we cover is the McKinney book, Python for Data Analysis. Um, you can get access to an electronic copy of the McKinney book on the O'Reilly Media site, and I think that's the way to do that. So those are the texts, right? So let's go back to the topics. Um, the 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 topics through creating custom classes are uh, hmm, no, let's see. Uh, the the topics through algorithm designer from the Zell book. Creating a custom classes is from the Severance book. Using Jupyter notebooks is from uh, material that we access over the web. And then these last three topics, NumPy, pandas, and matplotlib, are uh, are from the McKinney book. Okay, and pretty much, we march through the Zell book and get most of the way through it. We pick a couple of chapters from the Severance book, and then um, the chapters that we do from the McKinney book. I think we cover the first 3 or 4 chapters of the McKinney book in the last two units that we do. Okay? So again, when you're buying the books, you should buy the Zell book. The Severance, you should get one of the free copies of it, and the McKinney you should be able to get for free using the O'Reilly site. Let's talk about the learning outcomes. So after completing the course, you should be able to understand the role that programming plays in information processing and management. You should kind of understand what it means to be programming literate, okay? And you should see it. You should see programming as something that you want to do in order to solve problems in your, well, that's item 2. Identify opportunities for information workers to solve everyday work problems using programming. That's going to happen for you. Design, code, and test procedural programs in Python that make use of object-oriented classing provided the classes provided by others. Design, code, and test simple object-oriented classes in Python. Um, uh, we're going to learn how to create these things called Python data classes, which hold data values. And use the PyCharm integrated development environment, or IDE as it's called, competently. The technology requirements, I'm going to leave you to read on your own for details, but here's the bottom line. If you have a recent Windows computer or a recent Mac OS computer, you're going to do just fine. Okay. If you decide that you have some kind of a Linux laptop, consult with us before you decide to use it. The issue here is not that the software they're going to be using won't run on it. It's that there'll be a lot less support from other people than if you went the Windows or the Mac OS route. So if you're a hotshot and can support yourself, well, then we'll probably say, yeah, go ahead and do that. But if you're going to need support from us, you're going to do better using a Windows or Mac OS recent vintage um, operating system. Okay. And that doesn't mean that the computer has to be brand new. We've had people using computers that are even 5 years old in some cases, but the operating systems have to be up to date. There's a link here to the course schedule. This is a link to the weekly schedule for the A section. If you're in the syllabus for the B section, it has a link to the B section. The elements of the course, we have the readings, okay? I'm going to expect you to do the readings before you come to class, okay? And I think I've already said we have readings that are required. We have some that are optional, and that is some of the early readings in the severance text are marked as optional because they're just another version of the same thing that you might find helpful or you might not. Okay. Lecture videos. Okay. We're not going to be lecturing in class. So we'd like you to play the lecture video before you come to class. Because in class, we're just going to be discussing things. Now, there is some overlap between the regular lectures that are coordinated with the chapters in the book and the content from the chapters in the book. And I'm going to leave it to you as graduate students to decide how you're going to use those. You know, are you going to are you going to read the chapter and play the video? Okay. Are you going to play the video and not read the chapter? Okay. I do say some things in the video that are not in the chapter. Okay. I'm going to leave it up to you to decide how to use that content. There are other lectures, though, that are labeled beyond the textbook, and they are beyond the textbook. Okay. So, and this is material that is important for you to know. So, regardless of what style you're using from the material that's, say, in the Zell textbook, I urge you to play the beyond the textbook lectures for sure. Okay. Tutorial videos are of two types. Okay. In the early days of the course, there are tutorial videos to help you get the software installed and get started. Okay. When we begin to work on the coding assignments, not all the coding assignments have this, but quite a few. There'll be a tutorial associated with each exercise that you're going to do. And in that tutorial, I do a similar problem. Okay. And you can just watch me do it, or you can follow along and try to do the same thing. Then when you're done with that, the exercise that you're going to do is similar but not the same. Okay, so it gives you the opportunity to see a similar problem solved before you have to do the exercise on your own. The coding assignments, there'll be one or more coding assignments each week. Okay, they're typically associated with one of the chapters that we're covering. In some of the weeks, we cover 2 or 3 chapters, so there are 2 or 3 coding assignments. Um, Again, uh, we're going to review the solutions in class. Okay. Uh, Programming is really something that you learn by doing. It's like learning to paint fine art. It's like learning to be a chef. Okay. Yeah, there's clearly book things to learn, and we do learn book things, but you would do a lot of the learning here by doing. Okay, and that the doing is in the coding assignments. Okay. Um, there's a special deal that I have available on how we're going to grade the coding assignments, but I'll talk about that in a minute or two. Okay. Um, there's a final project. Now, the final project is the only assignment that people who take the course for 2 credits do not do. Okay, so they do all the coding assignments, um, and then the people who take the course for 4 credits do all the coding assignments and the final project. The final project is a little bit bigger than 2 coding assignments, and it's um, cumulative, so it builds on all the work that we've done in the course. Um, it's a great way to tie up the course. It's a great way to build your confidence as you're finishing the course, and that's the reason why I recommend to people that they take the course for 4 credits and that they do the final project. Um, Attendance is expected. Okay, certainly emergencies arise. Okay, both the A section and the B section are online courses. So, as is typical with our online courses, if some emergency happens and you can't attend the course, then you can play the recording. Participation is going to be a big thing because, again, that's what we're going to do in class. You know, in class, we're going to break up, we're going to review solutions, we're going to talk about questions, we're going to have some other kind of breakout group assignments. Okay. So, there is going to be a participation part of your grade. Um, what I do is I assign points uh, every time you participate. So there are points for introducing yourself at the first class, for making speaking contributions during any of the classes, for typing into the chat and making contributions that way during any of the classes, for presenting your work during a class, and for presenting as the spokesperson for your breakout group during class. Okay. Course grading policies. Now, I didn't used to have a section like this in my syllabi, but over time, enough questions have come up that I've grown this section, and um, to me, it's become like a contract for a rental car. It just goes on, and I apologize for that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you to read this, but I'm going to try to highlight the most important things. Um, Careful attention to detail. Okay, programming is a very detailed oriented activity. Okay, so we're going to be making, when we do the grading, we're going to be making deductions for things that you may not have even thought of. Okay, so pay very close attention to the way that we're showing you to do things to make sure you get all the points that you can. Uh, you're not able to resubmit assignments after the deadline has passed. Okay? Now, the grading scheme that I have is pretty forgiving. Okay? And so there's no real way if you're handing in your work on time and you're making a good faith effort on all parts, there's no way for the grade on one of the coding assignments to sink your grade. And with that in mind, we're only going to grade them one time. So no resubmissions after the deadline. Before the deadline, if you submit something and then you talk to somebody and they say, well, did you remember to do such and such? And you go, oh my God, I didn't. Well, just submit it again. We're going to download the latest one. Okay. But after the deadline, we don't take resubmissions. We will grant, or I will grant, reasonable deadline extensions, but you have to ask for them before the deadline using the help desk. Okay, so open a ticket and ask for an extension. Deductions will be made for late submissions. So because I hand out the solutions, okay, I have a deal where if you hand it in late, you get a big deduction for late because you've already seen the solution. Okay? So you do well to hand everything in on time and make a good faith effort on all parts. Okay, and I'll tell you a little bit more detail on that in a minute. Because we don't want people to hand in all their work at the end of the semester, there's a policy here saying that assignments that are later than some reasonable limits will be considered too late and will not be graded. If you get yourself in that situation, okay, you can ask for an exception, okay? So open a ticket and ask for an exception. Grade adjustments will be limited to automatic rounding. So regardless of how I get these people who come, well, if I had just gotten one more point on one assignment, I would be getting an A rather than an A minus in this course. Well, that is sad, but that's the way it's going to work. Okay, so all that we're going to do is any assignment, if you get an 81.4, you're going to get an 81, and if you get an 81.5, it's going to get rounded up to 82. All right, that's all the adjusting that's going to go on. Regrading requests made using the help desk will be given fair consideration. So two situations here. One is, what if you handed something in late and you go back to look for the grade and it hasn't been graded yet? Well, open a ticket on the help desk and remind us that it needs to be graded, okay? What if you look at our feedback? Every assignment that you get is going to have a number grade and a PDF feedback form. Read the feedback form. If you think we missed some aspect of your work, looking at the grade and looking at the feedback, maybe we didn't understand what you did, okay? And you'd like us to take another look. Open a ticket, ask for a regrading, and we'll take another look. If we missed it, we missed it. Okay. Extra credit opportunities are not available. Again, I've set up the grading on here that it's very hard to tank your grade with one bad coding assignment. Okay. And so we're not going to do extra credit assignments. So the expected grade for assignment submissions that meet all expectations is 95. So if you do all the regular parts of the assignment and you meet all the expectations, you'll get 95. So when you look at the assignments, you'll see that the exercises are categorized as regular or challenge. Okay. So there's usually a series of them that are regular. And if you meet all the expectations for them and you do everything else right, you get 95. The challenge is always worth 5 points. It's usually a lot of work for the last 5 points, okay? Because to get 100 in this course, well, it's been done. It's very hard to do, okay? So then you have to decide, do you want to do the challenge exercise or not? And the challenge exercise get maybe a little bit less help than the others. I always say that I'm only going to give hints, but then I'm a nice guy and I give more than hints. But again, a 95 is a very solid meets all requirements grade. Okay, and if you want to get between 96 and 100, you got to do the challenges, and they're hard. And they're a lot of work for what you get. Okay, now, coding assignment submissions that meet certain criteria subject to a minimum score guarantee. So, here's where we describe the special deal for coding assignments, and I encourage you to read all the details. Okay, so if you follow the directions, like you hand in, well, if you hand in your work on time, hand in your coding assignment on time, and then you structure the file in terms of what's in it and what you name it according to the directions, okay? And you make a good faith effort on all the regular exercises in the assignment, well then you're guaranteed to get 85. Okay, so you can't tank it worse than 85. All right, so there's no reason, because here's the thing, we're going to discuss it when we get to class, right? Um, you're not going to be able to participate in that if you didn't do it. So do the assignment, hand it in on time, make a good faith effort on all parts. And even if there's something that you didn't get, if you made a good faith attempt on it, the worst that you're going to do on that coding assignment is 85. Okay? Now, if you hand it in late, you can't score more than 84, even if you got everything perfect. Okay? So, I think you know what the right way to do that is. Okay, so the last 2 units we have cover NumPy, Pandas, and Matplotlib. And this is, again, this is new material that I'm still kind of calibrating, okay? Now, I'm only going to count those 2 coding assignments if they improve your grade. Okay, you could decide to not hand them in. All right, well then they're definitely not going to improve your grade. Or you could take a try at them. In the summer, most people did, and most people did, I think, reasonably well. Okay, all right, but they're still in a kind of a sandbox mode where I'm calibrating it, and I'm really looking for how you do and what your feedback is. And so those are the last 2 coding assignments. And again, they can only help you. The participation grade is based on points, okay? And what I do is I just write down the points as the course goes by. And how do I do that? Well, when we're in face-to-face classes, I give out name badges, but online I can always tell who's doing what. So you get 10 points for introducing yourself at the first class, 2 points for just speaking a contribution during class, 1 point for typing something into the chat during class, 5 points for presenting your work during class, usually showing your solution to one of the coding assignments, and 5 points for being a spokesperson for your breakout group during class. And what I do is I add all these up and I grade them on a curve. Okay. So half of the people get 90 to 100. Okay. And the other half of the people do worse. Attendance at class isn't graded, but it may affect your grade because you have to be a class to get these participation points. Okay, academic integrity policies and practices specific to the course. You're expected to do your own work, okay? That means that you should not be copying the work of other people. What do we mean by other people? Well, friends, classmates, people who had the class in some other semester, a published solution. Any of those kinds of things are not considered your own work. AI tools like Chat GPT, the same deal. Okay. Now, can we look at other people's work if they say, well, let me show you what I did? Yeah, okay. Or could we ask a question of Chat GPT and could we see what it suggested, or can we go to Stack Overflow and see what they recommend? Yeah, we can. But then you've got to sit down on your own and you have to write your own code. And we're going to be checking it just to make sure that you're doing it. Okay. Now, the exceptions to that are starter files. There are assignments where we give away files for you to use, so we expect you to use them. And tutorial examples. Most exercises have a tutorial, okay, and you can choose to follow along, and type the code in, and that code's going to be a lot like the exercise that you're going to have to do. The exercise is going to be different. Could you keep that code and adapt it for your solution to the exercise? Yeah, you could. So code that I show in tutorial examples is fair game, provided that you typed it in yourself. Okay? And what we're looking for you is to learn by doing it. Programming instructors believe, and they believed this when I was a programming student a lot of years ago, that you learn a lot by typing programs in. Okay? And I still believe it. Okay, so that's the activity that we want to make sure that you're doing, that you're using your own ideas and that you're typing in the code yourself. Oh, let's see. If you're taking the if you're taking the course for 4 credits, like I recommend, the participation is 10%. The coding assignments are 45%. The final project is 45%. If you're taking it for 2 credits, which again is not the way I recommend that you do it, because I don't think it's a super good deal, right? Getting 2 more credits for doing the final project is, I think, a very favorable deal. Then the participation would be 10% and the coding assignments would be 90%. Again, I recommend the 4 credit option. This Mapping of letter grades to number grades is pretty common. I got this from a colleague when I joined the iSchool 15 or more years ago, and I've used it consistently since then. Remember, the only adjustment that's going to go on is when we calculate your grade, it's going to come to some fraction, right? It's going to come to, uh, you know, 82.4, which in case will be an 82, it'll be a B minus, or it'll come to 82.5, which will be an 83, which will be a B, okay? That's all that's going to happen. Okay, even though there might be a very compelling and interesting story about why you would like to have a B rather than a B minus, we're just going to do rounding. Now, the final thing we have here are these iSchool and university academic policies. And I, I, I want to say that these are super important. They're also, they should be exactly the same on every syllabus you see. Okay. So if you understand these, great. Okay. But if you're new to these, please read these in detail and pay a lot of attention. Okay. Now I'm just going to kind of generally go through them. Incomplete grades. The requirement for qualifying for an incomplete is pretty high at Illinois. So if that's the thing that you're thinking might apply to you, you're going to want to read this. iSchool academic integrity statement. We take academic integrity very seriously. There's another part of the syllabus where we're really specific about what would be an academic integrity violation. Okay. Statement of inclusion. We're very serious about people feeling included and safe here at the university and here at the iSchool. So you're going to want to sort of understand that and how that operates. Religious observances. For some people, there may be days in which the university is operating that are religious holidays for them, and there are ways to deal with that. So if you think that applies to you, then please research that. Accessibility. It's very important to the university that our learning be accessible to all. We have this great department at the university called DRES, Disability Resources and Educational Services. If you have DRES accommodations, then you'll have a letter associated with that. Well, certainly send that to me as soon as possible. If you think you might qualify for DRES accommodations, well, I certainly urge you to contact them. iSchool COVID-19 statement. We're not out of this. We're not out of the woods yet on COVID. Even though the university is not mobilized to the extent that they were before with regard to COVID, we certainly are cognizant of what's going on. And if you've got some COVID-related issue, please let me know. Okay, so that's the syllabus. I want to go through one more thing. I want to go through just the first couple of weeks of the weekly schedule. Okay, so again, this is the schedule for the A section. In the first meeting, we're primarily going to we're going to talk about the expectations for the course, and you guys are going to introduce yourselves. Okay. Um, there is a lab on Sunday. People, the assignment for the week is to get the software installed on your computer, and of course, anybody who has a problem with that or any questions about the course, you might want to come to the lab on Sunday morning. Okay. Installing the software should be pretty straightforward. There are instructions and tutorials and all of those things. It usually works very well for 99% of the students. Every once in a while, there'll be a student whose computer doesn't want to cooperate, and we usually find a way to either get it done or find a workaround and get it all resolved. Okay, so that's week one. In week two, we jump right into content. We're going to be covering chapters 1, 2, and 3 from the Zell book. Chapters 1 and 2 were pretty introductory about programming and computers and things. Chapter 3 is computing with numbers, and it talks about the kind of number representations that we have in Python, and gets us started with using them. Okay, I've got lectures for all three of those. Okay, and I have a beyond the textbook lecture for chapter 3. And then we've got 3 coding assignments that are due on Sunday at the very end of the night. Okay, now this is a big week. Okay, what I would recommend that you do is in week 1, okay, once you get the software installed, go start working on the week 2 stuff. Okay, because week 2 is going to be kind of intense. And then the third week, which is the third week, which is the last one I have the detail up on, we're going to be covering one chapter. That's the good news. Well, we're going to be covering Zell chapter 5 and also Severance chapter 10 on tuples, which is a small chapter. The good news is that it's not as much content as the week before, but there's a lot here. You know, we're covering strings, lists, files, and tuples, and that's a lot of constructs to cover. So again, as soon as you get the opportunity, you're going to be working. You're going to want to be working on this, and we have a lab on Sunday morning, and that time is going to depend on whether you're in the A or the B section. And then we've got one assignment that's due on Sunday night. So, I'm really excited to see all of you. Let's see, I'm recording this on Sunday, so I'll be seeing you folks on either Wednesday evening or Thursday evening. I'm looking forward to meet you and to get you going. I think this is a fun course. I always have a lot of fun teaching it, and students work hard, but they enjoy it, and they go out with a lot of confidence that they're going to be able to use this in their professional work and in some cases in their personal lives. So, looking forward to seeing you on either Wednesday or Thursday evening. Until then, I'm going to say bye. Bye bye.